Her first bed wasn't a bed at all. Her mother placed a few pillows inside a drawer and laid her baby there to sleep. It sounds strange, but when you're the 14th child in a family, even finding a place to sleep isn't easy. The house was always crowded. Money was tight, and sometimes 3 or 4 children shared the same bed. But there was one thing that house was never short of: music. Her parents ran a small piano bar where the whole family would sing together, and soon they realized the youngest girl's voice was different. At 12, she wrote a song with her mother and brother and recorded her voice onto a simple cassette. That tape reached a music manager named Renee Angelil. Renee had never met this unknown girl. He only heard her voice and believed in it enough to make an unbelievable decision. Renee mortgaged his own home to finance her first album. Think about that. Risking almost everything you have on the future of a 13-year-old girl. And Renee was right. A year later, she won an international music festival in Tokyo. In the French-speaking world, she was becoming a star. But one enormous wall still stood in her way. She couldn't speak English. And if she couldn't cross that barrier, her dream of becoming something bigger might end right there. So, just as people were beginning to know her, she disappeared. For around 18 months, she stepped away from live performances. She learned English, worked on her voice, and prepared herself for a much bigger stage. When she returned, everything changed. In 1988, she represented Switzerland at Eurovision. The competition came down to the very end, and she won by just 1 point. But one place still remained: America. She released her first English language album, and one of its songs reached the US top 10. Then came Beauty and the Beast. Then The Power of Love. The girl who once couldn't even speak English was now being heard across America. And Renee, the man who had once put his own home on the line for her voice, was no longer just her manager. In 1994, they got married. But there was still one song waiting, a song that would carry her voice around the world. In 1997, a massive movie needed a song about a love that even death couldn't end. My Heart Will Go On. And the movie? Titanic. And now, the world would know that girl's name: Celine Dion. The French-speaking Canadian girl became one of the world's most famous singers. She won Grammys, sold millions upon millions of albums, and drew millions of fans to her Las Vegas performances. But life wasn't finished testing her. In 2016, after years of fighting cancer, Renee died. The same man who believed in her when almost no one knew her name. The man who had once mortgaged his home for her voice. Celine kept going. But years later, the very thing she'd built her entire life around was suddenly in danger. Her voice. Severe muscle spasms made performing almost impossible. And in 2022, she finally told the world why. She had a rare neurological disorder called stiff person syndrome. It affected her control over her muscles, even the muscles she needed to sing. Tours were canceled. The stage that had been her second home for most of her life suddenly felt far away. But once again, she began fighting for the things she'd had since childhood: her voice. She trained her body, she practiced, and fought to sing again. Then, in the summer of 2024, after years away from public performance, she returned. Not in a tiny piano bar, not in a recording studio, but on the Eiffel Tower. At the Paris Olympics opening ceremony, millions watched as the voice, threatened by a rare disease, was heard again. And maybe the most beautiful part of Celine Dion's story isn't the Grammys, or Titanic, or the millions of albums she sold. Maybe it's the distance between two images. A baby spending her first nights sleeping in a drawer, and decades later, a woman standing high above Paris, showing the world she still had her voice.
This is Tel Aviva, True Stories, Real Impact. Subscribe and tell us in the comments what story you want next. See you in the next one.